house they know is a pear tree, and King Ironhead knows it too, and he knows about the cravings, so he has this massive armed guard mounted on the greenhouse, waiting for Marianne to show up and beg him on bended knee for pears. In fact, Marianne gets dressed up as a ninja and has a big sack and sneaks over the wall one night, and there's the armed guard, and there's the house. So she just sneaks around the back of the castle and sets the garage on fire. All the staff run out and throw water on it. And then all the soldiers come from the greenhouse and say, no, that's not how you do it. You have to form a bucket chain. We'll show you how to do it. So they're yelling at each other and getting in each other's way and throwing water on the fire. And in the distraction, Marianne just walks right into the greenhouse, fills an entire sack with pears, strips the tree, and heads off. When King Ironhead finally is assured that the garage isn't on fire any longer, he goes to check on the pear tree, and it's bare. And it's stripped. And there's not a pear on it. And written on the trunk of the tree in letters a foot high is the message, "This was done by Marianne the Princess, who bedded King Ironhead in shit." So the sisters eat the pears and they feel better. And in fact, eventually they both give birth to great big healthy fat baby boys. Only they're horrified because what's their father going to say? But Marianne says, King Ironhead inflicted these babies on you. He should have to take the damn babies back. I'm going to make him buy them from you. Give me a suit of clothes and cover them in ashes and filth. So she gets dressed up in a suit of carter's clothes and covers herself in ashes like she just came out of a fire. She takes 2 barrels, and in the bottom of each keg she puts a baby. And don't worry, the babies are okay. No harm comes to small children in these stories. I'm not guaranteeing anything about the adults. And then she drills some holes in the top so they'll be able to breathe, and she puts the tops on. She hitches a ride on a cart that's going to sell groceries up at King Ironhead's house, and the king sticks his head out the window and says, "Hello, what you got?" Marianne says, "Well, not much, sorry, but you might want to go for these 2 kegs of slum brew because that's all there is. There isn't ever going to be any more." King Ironhead says, "What?" Marianne says, "Yeah, the entire city of Somerville burned to the ground last night, and this is all we could salvage." Well, she's covered in ashes and filth and looks like she just popped out of a house fire, so King Ironhead says she must be telling the truth. "Okay, what do you want?" Marianne says. "Well, I'll take $1,000,000,000,000,000,000. And then he bargains. He's very proud of his bargaining skills. He bargains her down from $1,000,000,000,000,000,000 to a mere large heap of gold coins plus 37 cents shipping and handling. She puts down the kegs, he gives her the great big heap of gold coins plus 37 cents shipping and handling, and she jumps on the cart and they go away, boom, down the road. Just about the time King Ironhead realizes that those 2 kegs don't contain beer, they contain something that's just starting to cry. So he pries the tops off, and inside each one is a big fat healthy baby, and on each baby's onesie there is a tag reading, "Compliments of Marianne the Princess, who bedded King Ironhead in shit." King Ironhead sees red. He's furious. His eyes bug out of his head with his rage, and he jumps on his sword and he draws his horse, and then he realizes he did that in the wrong order, and he jumps on his horse and he draws his sword, and he gallops hell for leather down the road to go find Marianne and stab her full of big round holes. Marianne realizes that something's going to be up sooner rather than later, so she hides in the back of the cart. The carter hides her in this big roll of cotton wool that he's going to deliver at the next place, and here comes King Ironhead with a sword screaming, "Pull over!" And he jumps in the back of the cart, and he starts running his sword through every living thing in there. Every parcel he runs through as well to make sure that she's not in there, because the idea is that if she's in there and alive, she won't be long. Marianne just holds real still, and he jumps right up on the cotton that she's in and stabs down, and it goes right through the calf of her leg. But Cotton does what Cotton usually does, and it wipes the blade really clean on the way out. So he just looks at his sword, realizes, okay, she's not in there either. Okay, Carter, I guess you're clean, you can go. And heads home. Marianne went home, bandaged her leg, and he used the big heap of gold coins plus the 37 cents shipping and handling to buy her sister's new damn doves, rubies, and rosemary trees. And not a minute too soon, because here comes their father back from the war. Wonderful. 3 doves, 3 rubies, 3 rosemary trees. Great! No virginity expended here. Well done preserving the honor of the patriarchal family. Marianne, I know this was mostly you. You are the responsible one here, even though you're the youngest. I'm gonna change the rules just for you because I want to reward you. Normally, I would insist on your oldest sister getting married first, but I just had a fantastic offer for your hand, so I accept it. King Ironhead wants to marry you. Marianne says, what? Shit, no! And her father says, you ungrateful child. Why not? He's fantastically wealthy. You'll be able to fill a pool and swim in gold coins like Scrooge McDuck. What more do you want? Marianne realizes that her hour is upon her and that there will be no escape, and says, in that case, can I have a present, please? Her dad says, oh no fair asking for a present, and then I realized that you asked for a present, and the present is you get to go in a convent. I know how your mind works! She says, no, I just want to have the most fantastic wedding cake in the world. Can I hire the most expensive patisserie chef in 9 kingdoms? Her father says, oh, is that all? Okay, finally you're doing something, femme. That's cool. Sure. She says, can I have 3 cakes? Yeah, whatever you want, honey. Now go have a wedding dress fitting like a good girl. So she goes and has a wedding dress fitting like a good girl. Then she tells the patisserie chef what she wants, and the chef says, finally a challenge worthy of my skills. So the day comes, and they all go over to King Ironhead's castle, and Marianne marries King Ironhead, who stares at her creepily without blinking and grins the entire time. They have 1 cake at the reception, and it's a marble cake with a lemon layer, for the record. Then Marianne gets sent upstairs to the bedroom, and a little while later, King Ironhead's guys take his coat off and shove him upstairs too. But he takes his sword because he knows not to trust Marianne at any point she's out of his sight. In fact, he chose the master bedroom especially for this because it didn't have an ensuite privy. Well, what he sees when he gets up there is the master bed, and on it is lying the 2nd cake. It looks just like Marianne. Right down to the tiniest detail, they'd used licorice whips for the hair and almonds for the fingernails and covered it in fondant icing. It's wearing a white dress, same as he last saw her in, and it's lying back on the bed holding a sign that says, I am totally Marianne the princess who bedded King Ironhead in shit. And his rage boils over, and he really didn't intend to go this route at this point, but he takes his sword and he stabs the cake, and he stabs it, 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 and chunks of cake go flying everywhere, and it gushes raspberry filling in every single direction, and it sprays all over the floor and all over the bed, and soaks the bed and soaks him. And, well, as they say, he was sorry the moment he'd done it. He's like, oh, Marianne, you were so hot, and now you're dead, and it's my fault, and I didn't really intend to kill you at this point. All I wanted was have sex with you. How did we get here? Where did we go wrong? I feel weird and bad about this, and I'm not used to feeling bad. Ah! And the only way he can think to resolve his conflict is to fling himself down upon the corpse and start kissing it in the frenzy of grief, and he gets a mouthful of raspberry filling, and it tastes fantastic. He says, Marianne, you even taste awesome. Why? Oh God, I'm going to drink your blood, in a frenzy of self-abnegation. So he crawls all over the floor licking up red raspberry filling, and while he is distracted, the real Marianne pops out from under the bed where she was hiding all this time, takes his sword, and chops off his head at 1 stroke.
Yay!
Then she brings out the 3rd cake. It looks exactly like King Ironhead. The patisserie chef even did his horrible little neckbeard without mustache. And it's mounted on a hand dolly so she can wheel it wherever she wants. So the next day she gets changed into something simpler and goes downstairs and tells everyone King Ironhead has a slight sore throat this morning, so he's not going to be talking much, but if anybody needs orders, they are to come to her. And you can get some kind of gauge of how much respect he commanded among his people by the fact that they all came to her and no one ever questioned this. And for that matter, no one ever has questioned this. By the way, Marianne had those 2 kids of King Ironhead's raised to have moral compasses and be decent people. And as far as I know, she's still out there ruling justly and well. And that is the story of Marianne, who bedded King Ironhead in shit. Cheers. How are we doing on time? I'm end sharp at 9, right?
Yeah. Well, 8:55. So we're gonna do a closing because the next act is on at 9,
Okie dokie.
and it's 8:41.
Okay, I think I have time for both of these. The Shee Gannon and the Gruagach Gair. Some of you have not heard this, so one bit of translation. The Shee Gannon means the man from fairyland from the hill of Gannon. The Gruagach Gair just means the hairy ogre. And now you know as much as you need to be going on with. The Shee Gannon was born in the morning, named at noon, and went in the evening to ask for the hand of the daughter of the King of Erin. The King of Erin said, "Well, I wish you luck. But my daughter is going to ask 3 tasks of you before you even think of going near her hand. And if you don't succeed, you'll get the head cut off you instantly. Outside my castle, there are 14 spikes, and on 13 of them are the heads of champions who have tried to win my daughter and failed, and I'm in great fear your head will be on the 14th spike, if you don't look sharp." The Shee Gannon said, "Fear me not." Then he called for spears. And the next morning in the courtyard below the window of the daughter of the King of Erin, she looked out, and there was the Shee Gannon with no clothes on doing the hero's spear dance upon 7 points. The Shee Gannon looked up at the princess, and he saw the bosom of her over the neckline of her dress, and said, "Lovely is that plain, the plain of the White Hills." She said, "No one comes to this plain who has not driven in the cattle of the Gruagach Gair until they give milk enough to overflow 7 vessels, the smallest of which would drown a man." The Shee Gannon just looked at her and said, "Lovely is this plain, the plain of the twin apples." The princess said, "No one comes to this plain who has not cut off the heads of 3 giants and offered them to me with their necks tied in a single knot." "Lovely is this plain," says our hero, "the plain of the 2 hills. No one comes to this plain who has not found out why the Gruagach Gair has ceased laughing, who has not laughed since I was 14 years old, even though before that his laugh used to resound from one end of Erin to the other, and drawn a laugh from him, at last. After that, maybe we could get it on." The Shee Gannon says, "Sure, just try me." So the next day he heads out to take service with the Gruagach Gair, which is difficult because the hairy, shaggy cattle of the Gruagach Gair eat nothing less tasty than mankind. But he simply called on his skills as a cowpuncher, and he punched those cows until they were not only cowed, but sheepish, and then followed him into the orchards of the giant who lived next door. And there he climbed up every apple tree, shook it until the apples flew. He ate the sweet apples, and he threw the sour apples down to the shaggy, hairy, man-eating cattle of the Gruagach Gair. They liked those better than human flesh, so they ate like mad. And while they were eating, through the trees there came a stomping sound, and then a snarling sound, and then a drooling, and then a voice crying, "Fee, fi, fo, fum! I smell the smell of a stupid bum!" And a giant with 3 heads upon 1 neck came into sight with a big club. He picked up the Shee Gannon by the hair, and he yanked him out of the tree, and he dunked him into the ground so hard he went in up to his knees, and then pulled him right back out and dunked him in up to his waist, and then the 3rd time he dunked him into the solid earth up to his neck, and was just about to haul off with the club and smash him like a bug, when the Shee Gannon thought to himself an encouraging thought, which was that if he died right here, he'd never get to shag the daughter of the King of Erin. So he clawed his way out of the ground, and the 2 of them went at it like mad until the hills shook, and the end result was that he cut off all 3 heads of the giant, and he tied their necks in a great big bow knot. Then he thought, well, I don't have time both to go to the Gruagach Gair and find out what's up with him, and make it back to the daughter of the King of Erin with these heads. I know what, I'll just make it convenient for myself. And he cuts out the tongues. Cuts out the tongues from each head, and he puts them in his pockets so nobody can pick up the heads while he's gone. But the instant he turns his back and heads off with the cattle, the son of the King of Lochlin, who was the next guy to try the princess, shows up to get the heads, and he's both nasty enough to try and walk off with somebody else's severed giant heads, and stupid enough that he doesn't think to check in the mouths before he does. But meanwhile, the Shee Gannon made it back to the Gruagach Gair's house with the cattle, and when they were milked, they gave so much milk there weren't enough vessels in the entire house to hold all of it. Then he says to the Gruagach Gair, "Tell me what stopped you from laughing when you before used to laugh so loud your laugh could be heard from one end of Erin to the other." The Gruagach Gair just says, "Not telling you a thing." So the Shee and Gannon pulled down 2 cords of leather that had been hanging on the wall until they'd gone like iron, and he tied the Gruagach till his little toes were whispering to his ears, and then he caught him by the 3 smalls, and he played ball with him all around the house. Until the Gruagach finally cried uncle, and he shouted, "No, no, no, untie me and I'll tell you everything, if only you untie me." So he did. Then the Gruagach said, "Once upon a time, I used to live here with my 7 big ugly daughters who were fully as tall as me, and we would eat and drink and play cards and have a fine time, until a yellow hare came down the chimney one night, and it scattered the cards and it shit on the table, and then it was away up the chimney again in a cloud of dust. And this happened 3 nights in a row, and the 3rd night we were waiting ready for it, and we followed it across 7 bens, 7 glens, and 7 mountain moors, until we came to the castle of a man called Greyface. As soon as we came in, Greyface locked the door behind us, and he said, 'I have a young calf boiling for dinner. Will you have the wooden spit to eat it with, or the steel spit?' So I took the steel spit to fetch out the dinner with, but it wouldn't come near the flesh. Now he picked up the wood spit, and he ate the entire calf for dinner in front of us. My daughters and I had to stop all night cowering on the hearth, being pelted on the face by the bones as Greyface ate them clean and flung them at us. And the next day he said to me, 'Will you put your 7 ugly daughters' necks into the wooden yokes, or your own into the steel yoke?' Well, I was thinking, iron and steel, wait, the spits, how did they work, how did the yokes work? And I said, 'I'll put my own daughters' necks into the wooden yoke and keep my own out of the steel one.' But the second that they did, he closed the yokes on all their necks until their heads went rolling all over the floor. And then he grabbed me and he skinned the entire skin off my back, and down from the wall he took an old sheepskin that had been hanging there 7 years, and he stuck that in place, and it grew in place. And every year I make my own socks and knit my own sweaters by shearing my entire back.' And then he turns around and whips off his shirt, and oh my gosh, his back is covered in a fleece of wool, the kind that could only grow on a ram. All the Shee and Gannon said was, 'Does that yellow hare come here still?' 'Yes, in fact he does every night.' 'Well, all right, let's play cards.' So they sat down and they played cards, and here came the hare, dashed down the chimney, scattered the ashes, shit on the table, and it was away. But they were after it, and they chased it over 7 glens, 7 bens, and 7 mountain moors, until they came to the castle of Greyface, and they charged right in, and the Shee and Gannon picked up the yellow hare and squeezed it till it popped like a bug. 'Who has dared to interfere with my fighting pet?' screamed Greyface. 'And I did,' said the Shee and Gannon, 'and if your pet had had manners, it would be alive right now.' Then Greyface said to them, 'Do you want to eat from my pot of the boiling calf with the wooden spit or the steel spit?' So they said, 'We'll have one of each.' One of them took the steel spit and one of them took the wooden spit, and they fetched all the meat out of that pot and ate it right there and then they threw all the bones at Greyface until he was beaten to death under the pile of them. Then the Shee and Gannon piled up the heads and the bodies of the Gruagach's 7 big ugly daughters, took the collars off of their necks and put their heads back on their bodies, and pop, they were all alive as well as ever. And when the Gruagach saw his daughters alive and well again, he burst out roaring with laughter so loud it could be heard from one end of Erin to the other. The Shee and Gannon said, "Uh-oh, what's the matter?" "Well, now that you've given that laugh, that was the last thing the daughter of the king of Erin asked of me before we could bone, and if I don't get back there instantly, somebody else could be pretending to be me and marrying her right this instant. Oh gosh, this is awful." So the Gruagach and his 7 ugly daughters said, "We'll go with you." So they all charged off like maniacs and went over 7 bens, 7 glens, and 7 mountain moors, and they got to the castle of the king of Erin, just as the son of the king of Lochlan was saying, "Look, giants' heads, awesome. Look at all the milk these cattle are giving, it's overflowing the house, there aren't vessels enough to hold it. And the Gruagach finally laughed, now we can get married and then we bone, right?" And the princess was saying, "Wait a minute. Are those heads got their tongues? Check their mouths." So they checked the mouths, but there were no tongues. And the Shee and Gannon walks in and says, "Looking for something?" And he's got 3 big old awful sloppy giant tongues. The tongues fit the heads. The daughter of the king of Erin said, "If I go to be married, this is not the man, but the man who did all these deeds, him will I have." And away she went to the wedding with the Shee and Gannon. After that, they built a great big fire, and the deceiving son of the king of Lochlan was burned to ashes, and serve him right. The wedding lasted 9 days, and the 9th day was even better than the first. But as for me, all I got was a paper cup half full of a very poor vintage of wine, and paper shoes to wear on my feet. And the first time I crossed over a river, the paper shoes came to an end, and so has the story. One more short one, I think?
Yeah.
One more short one, okay. I've got the...
You got about 10 minutes.
Yeah. And forgive me, I may need to refer to my notes on this one. The story is an old one, the format is mine, and I literally just finished it. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to say, no, what the hell is that? Let's practice once. Question, question, question?
No, what the hell is that?
A little bit louder. Question, question, question?
No, what is the hell is that?
Awesome. Has everyone heard about Bisclavret?
No,
What the hell is that?
Well, wonder no more. It hunts the green wood for what it can get, sometimes on 2 legs, sometimes on 4. If you don't want to hear of the wolf and the wood, and betrayals and maulings, I'd be remiss in not letting you leave while the leaving's good. But everyone else, sit still and listen. There was a knight and a wealthy bride, and they lived happily ever after. The end. Short story. No, wait, I lied. It lasted 6 months. Haha, ironic laughter. The knight said to the lady, "It's bothering me. For 3 days at a time you leave me alone. Where do you go to, my lovely? Seriously. True loves don't have secrets of their own." "I become Bisclavret," the lady said. "I turn to a wolf and I hide my clothes, and on 4 good paws I run to the wood to kill whatever should please my nose. It's what all my family has had to do. My mother was Bisclavret before. But wolfness over, I dress anew to be your own faithful girl once more." "But what if somebody stole your clothes?" "I'd be stuck, and that would be the end. But fear it not, there's a good hiding spot in the big rotten tree by the river bend." "Well, thank God that's all. It could have been worse." That's what he says as he holds her tight. There's nothing wrong with an old family curse. Do you trust him?
No.
And as
hell is that?
As it happens, you're right. He's thinking, this is a fiend in a human shape. I could never trust her with a kid. I was tricked into marrying this brute, and of this brute I will now be rid. So sometime later, a lean gray wolf swims back across the river for her cure. To the tree she goes, and finds 0 clothes. Surprising none of you, I'm sure. She smells the way her husband went, then catches a smoky whiff in the air. It's her clothing burning, that's the scent. So she howls and runs off, no one knows where. A month or so after she disappeared, her husband finds loneliness starting to pall. So he finds wife Mark II to dry his tears, and she never turns into anything at all.